So yeah, how are you?
I'm all right, I'm all right. Lots going on,
Have you?
but I'm all right. Yeah, yeah, I can't
This is just
complain.
audio anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just audio,
Mm.
so I'm trying to get it so I can have like the videos up as well. But I don't mean to sound like a cheapskate, but at the moment I can't afford it.
No, of course not. I mean, that's it. I mean, we do these things, but they end up costing a lot of money in the end, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's it. Do you have to pay for this?
no,
Oh right, well that's a bonus.
I'd have to
Yeah,
pay. I'd have to pay extra to do to record the videos as well, which I'm hopefully gonna do.
yeah, great. So are we recording?
We're recording.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good job I didn't swear.
I always put explicit on there because I'm probably the worst for it. I do the editing. The amount of language I use. It's
Yeah. The thing is that I once a microphone goes up, I don't swear, and in normal life I'm swearing all the time. But as soon as I'm in front of a microphone, I very rarely swear. It has come out a few times when I've been on stage, you know. Uh, but for the amount of bands that I've introduced, it's negligible, you know. It really is. And I've just got this thing about, you know, if you're broadcasting or something like that, you got a certain standard, and it's strange that I don't keep to that in real life.
because you've been doing this a long time, haven't you, Keith?
Yeah, I've been broadcasting on radio for about 30 odd years, just on local stations, only as a volunteer as well. I've never ever been paid for anything I do, and I wouldn't want to be either, because then I'd have to be professional, and that's me finished. So yeah, I started off, literally got into it by accident. I'd gone. A young band had approached me and said, "Oh, you're into music and that." I didn't know them. They was friends of a mate of mine's son, and they were still at school. And they said, "You're into music, and your business and that. So would you manage us?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll give it a go." And that's really how I started in it all. And they were just leaving school and starting college and that, and their band stayed together for a few years. But I sort of like went as far as I could with them. But during that time, they went down to a local radio station, and I just went along for the ride. You know, I wasn't involved in the broadcast, and I sat there and bumped into the DJ some months afterwards, and I was going to do a fundraising event for Childline. We were racing 100 plastic ducks on the river through Guildford, and I was looking for publicity. So he said, "Oh, come into the show," and I said, "Well, I've got all these sort of like bands, you know, and unsigned bands. Can I bring that in?" And we did a little feature on it. And he said, "That worked well. Come back in." And that was how it all transpired. And the station manager said to him, "Do you realise your guest is doing longer than you are?" And gave me the show and moved him to another slot. And that was exactly how it all started. And then I started getting bands into the studio. And of course, virtually everyone I had in was an electric act, but they had to do it acoustically. But for the past 10 years or so on Radio Woking, we've got the luxury of a recording studio right literally next to the radio station. So I can have full electric bands play, and which is quite unique, because a lot of them say, "Oh, we've just done BBC Introducing." They've got nothing like this, you know, unless you go to Maida Vale or the London studios, you know, the local ones, got nothing like the equipment that we've got at Radio Woking. We're very, very lucky to have it, because it's all given to us by the school, Winston Churchill School in Woking. And it's all their equipment. And we don't hire it. We're just given it to use. And they've been very good to us over the past years.
That's amazing. That is. That's really good, and that's how it should be. That's a really good like community sort of based ethic, isn't it? You know, helping each
It's
other.
Yeah, it certainly is. It really is a community-based station down there, and we're getting more and more shows that are locally based because, of course, we uh, it started off when we got this new broadcast studio down there. The manager of the station, Justin Cole, he's an old mate of mine going back 30 years, you know, and I said, look, why don't we sort of start a community radio station? We've got all this marvelous equipment now. Let's do that, and that's what we did. We started up Radio Woking about 12 years ago. We've just come off of DAB. We were on it because we've got no money. There is nothing. Radio Woking is just agreements for the presenters. We don't sign a contract, anything like that. And we broadcast 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Obviously, it's not all live. A lot of it's done by the computer through the night. But we have presenters on as much as we can. And coming back to the community aspect of it, it's also a sports centre. And the Sports Centre are very kind. They come and look up for us, which means we can stay out until 10 o'clock. So they come and lock the doors, and otherwise we'd be finishing when the school locks up at about 5 or 6 o'clock. So, yeah, it really is a community thing over there, but I'm rambling again.
No, it's really good. It's good to hear. What would you need to do to be a presenter on Radio Woking?
Just contact us through the website. We've had some new presenters start. We've had some presenters who had to leave for job reasons and then come back. But we really just need someone to come along and say, look, this is what I'd like to do. Tell us what they'd like to do. And come in, get a feel of the studio, see if they enjoy it. A very, very good friend of mine, she's just joined, and she's sat in Depping on a few shows, so she's absolutely loving it. She's will get her own show. She knows what she wants to do, but I think it's just building up confidence to do it. We've got another presenter who runs a local festival down here. She started doing the sort of like local gig guide and things like that, which really I should have been doing on my show for the past 10, 12 years. But I'm a bit of a scatterbrain, let's put it that way. So it never works out. But I do, my show's always been specialised. I've always done new and unsigned music. So that's always what I've done. So it is a thing where I think when I started, people would say to me, no one does this, you know, no one puts unsound bands on apart from John Peel.
Yeah,
and you imagine that going into one show, the amount of, you know, and of course he was the man that everyone looked up to. And no way would I ever put myself on the same plateau as the great John Peel. But I like to feel that I've learned things from him, and I'm using those today in what I do. Although our styles are completely different, apart from not knowing what we're doing. I know he once played the track at the wrong speed. That would be the type of thing that I would do. In my early days, people used to run sweepstakes as to when my first mistake would be, and they were. And what worried me, it was always being seconds, not minutes.
Do you know, me and Lorik were talking last night. We actually said that you like John Peel. You know, you support like new unsigned bands. You have people on your show. You've had Lorik on the show. You've had Rage DC on the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we. Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that because I do. You've got John Peel vibes, Keith.
Oh, well, it's very kind of you to say so, but certainly not his talent. You know. But yeah, I remember once getting a little package through the post, and it was a heavy metal band from Brazil who'd heard what I was doing, and this was in the days before the internet. And I was just so made up with that, that I had to play it. It wasn't my type of music at all, but I had to play it. Nowadays with the internet, of course, everybody knows that. But this somehow was done by old snail mail, saying, "Oh, there's this fella over here in England doing this," and I got this tape from Brazil.
Nice. That's so
Yeah,
random, isn't it?
it's very random, and it is one of the memories because obviously, well, yeah, yeah, but my mates are always saying you've got a story for everything, so we could be here for 3 days um, doing this. But yeah, the radio side led to presenting once again. That was not a planned thing. It was just fell into it. My mate who set up Radio Woking, Justin, he used to run the unsigned band stage at GuilFest, and I used to go to GuilFest covering it for the radio station. And he said to me, "If you're around by our well, it was not even a tent; it was a Beetle van with a not a Beetle van, a Volkswagen little camper vans with some kind of tarpaulin over it and a little stage and the unsigned bands playing on it." And he said, "If you're over there, would you mind jumping up, and introducing a band if there's a changeover while you're there?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Obviously, I'd never tried it before. I was absolutely terrified of getting up in front of the 15 people who were standing there, watching this. And yeah, I got up and did it. And then from then, it just sort of like developed. And of course, I've been highly involved with the Undercover Festival since it started, and still am involved with undercover promotions with Mick Moriarty and doing all the compere in there. And to me, I love it because I get up there and I sort of like waiting and waiting and waiting. I get up and I sort of like go 30 seconds at the most. If I go any longer, the bands are in my ear. Oh, this is our time.
How did you
So
meet Mick? How did you get into Undercover? I know you've done GuilFest, you've done other
through
festivals.
GuilFest, through
Oh, for
GuilFest,
GuilFest.
I met Mick. Mick used to that little Beetle van tent at one stage became two great big marquees. So we had two stages for the unsigned bands. And I was just involved in the comparing and DJing in between the bands. And Mick ran the Unison tent, and he had some great acts on there. He put some great acts. The Unison, the Union, and of course they were promoting the Union, and they had some great acts on there, and I went over to watch things, and I in fact managed to meet Tony Benn over there, who we got over as a speaker, and I had a great interview with Tony Benn, but we sat there and we chatted for about half an hour. And he was a fantastically interesting man, fantastically. The unfortunate thing was that it was so windy that it just obliterated the interview and it never got broadcast. But yeah, I'd seen Tony Benn speak in the 70s when I was at Polytechnic. And I thought then, what an interesting man he was, But to actually sit down, just the two of us, round the back, and he had this massive great flask of tea, and he kept drinking tea all the time. And he was a tremendously interesting man. But going back to the music, that was how I met Mick. He was running that stage, and I'd go over and see him and watch the bands that he put on over there. And in fact, speaking of Lorik, one of the few times that I have sworn on stage was after Rage DC had played. Now, I've known Rage DC for 15 years or more. I don't know how long now. You'll probably say, well, they've only been going 6 years. I don't know how you managed that.
Well, they've been going a long time. Lorik's been in bands since like the late 70s, early 80s. But Ridge DC started, oh God, very long time
Years.
ago. I couldn't even
Yeah.
tell you, 20 years ago maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it could well be. I've known them for years, and I introduced them on stage. This was at the Holroyd in Guildford. I introduced them on stage. I got off the stage, stood in the centre, watched their whole set, got back up on the stage, and said, "Please give it up for the Witch Doctors." and, and the audience was silent, absolutely silent, looking at me with their mouths open. And I turned around and I've gone, "Oh, bollocks, it's Rage DC." That's one of the few times that I have sworn. See, I can even remember the times that I've sworn on stage, but that was unbelievable. That was, talking about Sarah's a Scatbrand, and people say to me, "Oh, it's a great act you've got there, getting the band's names wrong." And I say, "It's not an act. I don't do it deliberately. I did. The only time I did it deliberately was the Stone Heroes." And the lovely Janine Ray,
Oh yeah,
who's sadly no longer with us, she used to get the hump with it. So I thought, right, that's it. I'm a fisherman, wind them in. Because what happened once was you know how people are talking at the bar and taking no notice before the band actually start playing. Well, I introduced them as the Stone Roses, and people.
I could just imagine Janine. She used to make me laugh so much, Keith. I just really miss her. I miss seeing her out and about.
Yeah, and everyone misses Janine. She was lovely. She was absolutely lovely. And to me, she was Auntie Janine because her nephew came on my show once with his band, and he says, "Oh, you know my Auntie Janine," and then after that, "Oh, it's Auntie Janine," And there were times when she would bite, and of course, to me, that's red rag to a bull. Wind it up, But she was so lovely, very much missed. I remember her funeral as if it was yesterday, So yeah, very sad. We've lost a lot of people along the way, We're getting to that age, aren't we? Yeah, I've been because this obviously is a punk broadcast, and the first time I saw the Sex Pistols was in December 1975. And that was at the Gypsy Hill Teachers Training College. And the gig was never documented. Never documented. So I saw them a couple of weeks after at City of London Polytechnic, where I was at. And that's documented as their fourth ever gig, right? But I say that was their fifth gig because their third gig was at Gypsy Hill Teachers Training College. So,
nice.
Yeah, and I know they've got lawyers and can sue and everything like that, but they were awful. They were not very good at all. Of course, they honed their craft, over the next few years. But yeah, I must say, I didn't rush out and join the Sex Pistols fan club. I remember seeing the singer in the bar and saying, "What's the name of your band, mate?" He went, "We're the Sex Pistols." I went, "Oh, right, okay." I don't think I'm going to forget that one.
How did you feel when it all exploded and you saw them out and about after that initial encounter of the band?
Sorry?
How did you feel when you saw it explode? Bearing in mind you've got that initial,
See, being a student in East London, it wasn't so much of an explosion as a build up. We saw it build. Being there, seeing the bands, because those bands were getting gigs at colleges. That was the main stages in those days, was colleges. So I was watching a load of the bands, and seeing them develop. So it wasn't so much like, Bill Grundy show, bang, here's punk rock. To me, it had been bubbling away for about a year or so before that actually happened. So it wasn't actually an explosion. You'd seen them sort of like all building. I was watching, one of the most memorable for me was The Damned. watching The Damned. And then the following night, I went to see Iggy Pop with David Bowie on keyboards at the Rainbow. So things like that, is things that I can remember. But I've seen so many bands now that, it does sometimes become a bit of a blur as to who. But that, because I did go and see all those type of bands then years ago, I now search for the rawness of the new bands, before they get polished and that. And that's what I like. And that's what I love about Rage DC. I mean, even though you said they've been going 15, 20 years, they still are exciting to watch. They are raw and heartfelt, and they put everything into the song. And they've got two juxtapositions there. They've got a man who's never had a sweat bead on his head in his life, and another man who could sweat for England. Right? So you've got the two of them there on stage. And I think, they all gel, so well. And I know that they've had a little change in lineup over the past few years, but essentially it's the same three at the front. So then other bands, and I don't only listen to punk rock. In fact, if people say to me, and this is what gets me, people will say to me, I don't listen to your show because you only play punk rock. And I said, well, if you don't listen to it, how do you know I only play punk rock? Because you always all the punk gigs. So I said, well, yeah, I'm at all the punk gigs, but what about all the other gigs I go to? I go to, I like going to Northern Soul gigs, love it. And if anyone said to me, what's your favourite genre? My favourite genre is reggae, roots reggae. So I say, really, roots reggae. And that was one of my proudest moments, was in front of 10,000 people taking Toots Hibbert, Toots and the Maytals off the stage, because I called them the Maytals. I've been a fan of them since 1969, and it was such a great honour to be up there on the stage, because I had to pull a few strings, to get up there and be the one. Their manager, their tour manager, introduced them on, and I sort of like introduced them off, and to do that in front of 10,000 people was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And then I got to meet Toots afterwards, and he said, "Oh, I can give you 5 minutes," type of thing. And after half an hour, he said, "Next time I come back, we'll do this again when I'm back in the UK." But sadly, I never did. I never met him again. But he did pull me over the coals during the interview when I called them the Maytals, and he said, "They're the Maytals." And I didn't like to say, "Well, you spelt it wrong then, haven't you?" Because he was the man who coined the term reggae. So, to me, he was, the greatest. I did see Bob Marley. Well, when I say I saw Bob Marley was a dot on the horizon at the Crystal Palace Bowl, but I could hear him. I said, "Which one's Bob?" So, which was, I think, one of his last ever gigs. So I managed to see him. But I like all sorts of music. I know what I don't like, so there's no point in me going on about that. And I'm annoyed with myself that I don't, because I feel it's limiting me. I've never liked dance music in any shape or form, and I've had lots of mates who are really well into it, and I know people who DJ that genre, and I've listened to it, and I just can't get into it, and to me it's sad, because I feel like I'm missing out on something, but that's it, isn't it? You can only like what you like, and I have, and I do get dance music sent to me. I get so much music sent to me, I do not get the time to listen to it all these days, which is strange, really, because I've got more time on my hands than I've ever had. I just don't settle down, and I get enough songs for my show, and that's it. But I've literally got 5,000 emails sitting here. Each has got at least one song on it, So mainly from the record companies and that. And when I'm talking record companies, I'm talking about the very, very small independent labels, and they're the ones that I tend to play. You won't get many household names on my show, but that's the whole ethos of the show, seeing like what is new, what is coming out, and what I've got going on in my crazy head. So yeah, I seem to have spoken all the time. Did you want to say?
I was gonna say introduce yourself, but I don't know if you need an introduction. So
Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm Keith Woodhouse. But I've got a mate who says to me, why use 3 words when you've got 35? Yeah, I did actually bring some water because I thought that I might ramble on. But taking it back to the punk thing, I've seen a great change in punks over the year. I mean, they're a very loving family community now. When it started, it was very violent. It was very violent, and you would get the big gang fights along King's Road, especially on a Saturday. It seemed to be a flashpoint for the punks and the psychobillies. But I think that quickly died out, and I would say within 4 or 5 years that was gone, and punk became a bit more underground during the 80s and 90s, and then sort of like started making a comeback into the more mainstream. And then all of a sudden, everyone wanted to be a punk. And then I get these Americans and they say, we're a punk band. When I look, they'd have hair longer than a hippie, and I think, hang on a minute. that was the antithesis of punk. But punk, I think when it started, was more of a music and a movement. And that music was very fast, and that perhaps led to a lot of the violence, it was a shame that happened, but it happened, and that was it. The dancing was violent. I mean, I think we've gone back to that with the mosh pits now. I sort of like stand there thinking, oh hell, that's one miss punch out away from a mass brawl. When you're seeing that there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does go a bit crazy, but as people enjoy themselves, and you say they're not harming anyone. I've seen a few people get trampled underfoot, so maybe they are, but I don't want to say, oh, let's rein it in a bit or anything like that. And I never get up on stage and say, look, it went a bit far during that last act, perhaps. Tone it down a bit. That's not down for me to say. That's the call of the venue and the security.
Yeah.
But and there is no malice in it. They're just enjoying themselves. But it's going to happen, so don't stand by it. Like stay in another part of the venue. But there is that. And when I have to go down to sort of like where the bands, because I will say to the bands, if I don't know their songs, which for a lot of bands that I do, I don't know their songs, or all of their songs, and I always look at a band's set list and see what one from the end is, the penultimate song, and I'll start making my way to the front of the stage, so as when they finish, I can just jump up on the stage. And that's when it gets a bit dangerous for me, with some bands, knocked all over the place down there before I go on stage. And I made a stupid mistake once. Someone said to me, why do you always carry a bottle of beer and not a glass of beer? And I said, the reason is because I have to keep going in and out of these crowds, and it gets spilt everywhere, But if I've got it in a bottle, it doesn't get spilt. Yeah. And I drink real ale, so Now you see loads of people drinking real ale out the bottle, like on the dance floor, and they run out. So, and I must admit that that sometimes they do keep a crate behind for me down in the cellar. So,
Oh,
but
nice.
yeah, they run out now, and it has become very popular. Whereas there would only be sort of like 8-10 bottles in a night, now they're bringing them up from the cellar all the time, to restock, because I stupidly said to people, "This is what you need to do. You need to go out there with a bottle, drink my stock." So so that was I've made many faux pas in my life, but that's the one I regret, not having a ready supply of beer. And of course, strangely, this years ago, no matter where I went, I would get searched. The security would always pull me aside and search me. I've got no issue with that whatsoever. If they think that I might have something that I shouldn't have, then they're quite at liberty to come over and search me. I see people argue with them and all that. I would never argue with them because I used to do a little bit myself, so I understand where they're coming from. But over the past 10 years or so, I noticed they just open doors for me now. So I must be getting old. I don't look a threat anymore. So that is one of the things of having another birthday. That I am no longer looking like I might be there and could cause a problem. I'm looking like I need assistance into the venue. You got any knives on you? They say, "Would you like a chair, sir?" But it's one of my pet peeves, violence, which luckily over the years I've seen very, very rarely. But violence at a gig to me is a hanging offence. People are there to enjoy themselves. They don't want to be intimidated. They don't want to be knocked around if someone else is fighting. They certainly don't want to see anyone pull any weapons out. I've never seen that happen.
That used to happen a lot in the 80s, apparently. Like Lorik was telling me, and I don't know if you've listened to Lou Moon's interview and other people who were around during the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. It happened on the regular where somebody gets stabbed. A friend of mine ended up with a screwdriver stuck out of the back. He didn't even realise he'd been stabbed. It just sounds really horrific. I wouldn't want to see that, No,
and I certainly wouldn't want to be on the receiving end either, So, because I'm an easy target, being about 5'0". If someone is looking for trouble, then there's an easy target. Go for the little fella. But luckily, that's not really happened over the years. And coming from the East End, I shy away from those type of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can. I don't know. It's like a sixth sense. You can feel it and just move away, But as I say, I've never really seen anything, And I'll tell you one, being a football fan, in the 70s, on the terraces, whenever you saw a big hole open up, you knew it was a mass brawl going on the terraces. And I was at Live Aid, and I was on the sort of like raised bit, looking down onto the pitch, and the Beach Boys were playing on a big screen from America. They were playing live from America. All of a sudden, I saw this big hole open up in the crowd, and I thought, who's fighting on a day like this? Who could be fighting? And I looked down, and it's all these policemen and policewomen all in a ring, and they're doing a jig to the Beach Boys, running into the ring, swinging each other around and coming out, all in their full police uniforms, like having a party in the corner. It was absolutely brilliant. I think that summed up that day, But of course, the first thing I thought when I saw a big hole in the crowd is, battle. You know, there's a big battle going on. But
Yeah.
when I look closely, there's all these policemen and women sort of like having a jig to the Beachboys. And someone said to me last year, the year before, who have you never seen who you want to see? And I immediately said Smokey Robinson. And they said, what about a band? And I said, Beach Boys. I've never seen the Beach Boys. And within 2 weeks, both announced dates last year. So I got to see them both last year. And they were Smokey Robinson, absolutely fantastic. I would go and see him again, Beach Boys, perhaps. Yeah. The Smokey Robinson, I think he's 84, 86, completely dominated the stage, never used backing singers, you know, to carry him. He did the lot, and yeah, he was fantastic. So if you ever get the chance, I know this is punk rock, right? But a lot of the early punk rock bands certainly grew up with the same music that I grew up with, you know, because I'm of that age, of the same age of the early punk rockers, and reggae was a massive influence on punk, massive influence. And I don't know about Town to Motown, but certainly in the mid to late 60s, growing up and becoming a skinhead, and that was when skinheads were nice, right? It was reggae and Town to Motown. That's all we used to listen to, you know. Certainly not chart music or anything like that. So punk coming along was brilliant for me, because it was getting a bit stale, you know. Yeah, those early days, it was great. Yeah, seeing those bands when they were raw and that, and then they got into the studio and started getting produced and polished and things like that, and you know, it all changed. I've not seen the Sex Pistols in this new lineup, so that'd be interesting to go along and see that. But last time I saw them was at Brixton Academy, I think, with Johnny Rotten was playing. Yes. You were there, were you?
I was there. Yeah, they did that 2 or 3 nights, but I loved it. That was one of my favourite gigs. I've seen a lot of bands, and I've played with a lot of bands, and to see them there, I thought it was a really good gig. I was quite happy with that. I was dancing. I was there at the front dancing. That ain't like me, Keith. I like to spectate. I do like a dance, but I kind of like my own space. Sometimes if I get crushed in with people, I just makes me feel a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah. I must admit, I don't go into the audience so much now, because of years ago I'd be pushing people to see, you know, but nowadays, you know, I don't want to start moving people out the way and that, you know. The only good thing about being in an audience is, you know, the person behind's going to see. I'm not going to block anyone's view.
Same with me.
During our lifetime, things have moved faster. Now I've started looked at and turn my phone on to silent. So things have moved faster than they've ever done in history. Technology has moved on so fast. It's never moved at this rate. During the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, the technological revolution of the 60s, which I think it was Harold Wilson called it the white heat of technology. And nothing's moved as fast as it has in the past decade.
Oh,
nothing at all.
So quickly, even in my lifetime, you know. Well,
let me put this on silent.
I don't know if it was your doorbell then. Yeah, even in my lifetime, I mean, me and Lorik have this conversation about music, and I can't remember a time when there wasn't electronic-based music somewhere. Right. He remembers a time when there wasn't any electronic music, and it all just suddenly happened, because I was born like late 70s, early 80s, so you know, for me, electronic music's always been around. But he was like, yeah, and I was trying to imagine that, because Lorik's a bit older than me, you probably gathered, so it's, yeah.
Get that in fast.
Yeah, I might have to edit that.
Yeah, you could have worded that a bit better.
Oh, that's the story of my life, Keith. I could have I could have worded a lot of
Laurie
things there.
had a bit more experience than me, would have sounded a bit better than he's older than me. He's really old. Well, yes, in fact, well, when I was born, 45s weren't invented. 7-inch records didn't exist. Like, it was the old 78s. So not that I ever had any, but yeah, over the years I've seen loads of bands and came to a stage, quite a few years ago, where the only time I really see the big bands is when I say big bands, that's very derogative to people who I do go and watch. When I go and see the bands who are earning a lot more money, shall we put it that way?
Yeah.
It's a festival, very, very rarely will I go to. Obviously, I went to see the Beach Boys and I went to see Smokey Robinson and I saw Sway, but out of all it will be dozens upon dozens, maybe hundreds I've seen over the past year, then that's negligible. It's a very, very, very small percentage of who I've seen. So for me, small grassroots venues are absolutely essential, for music, because without those, all we're going to get is AI-driven stuff, and it will be. Saying they're bland is different, is wrong, but it will be certain things, because if you don't like pop music, there's no use in turning on certain radio stations, and I don't like pop music. I never have. So turning on certain radio stations, that's all you're going to have. And then when I don't want to get too political about this, but when I was on community radio stations, these have all been bought up by one big station, and they're putting out the same stuff all over the country. So all of the local artists, they don't get a look in, let alone local news or anything like that. So I think that's a shame. And if we lose grassroots venues, then all you're going to get is the big corporate venues putting on people who are going to make the most money for them. So I think it's essential that people do get out and support them. And I know not everyone can afford it, but limit yourself to what you go and see. Just go and see sort of like the cream, as it were, of what you feel is the cream. And rather than going to see everything, I turn up at gigs and I certain places I see the same people, and a lot of people have the attitude, oh, they're here again. To me, it's thank God for them keeping these places alive, and I could name names, and they'll know who they are anyway. But if it wasn't for people like that, then the grassroots venues would go, and it's frightening. And all these initiatives from the government's absolutely rubbish. I remember when Tony Blair got in with his Cool Britannia, right? Yeah. What a load of rubbish! What a load of rubbish! I mean, he said, "Oh, we're going to open up village halls so as people can practice and things like that," and I thought, well, where do you think people practice in the first place? Of course they're practicing these village halls. He wanted to be a punk rocker as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just made me laugh, the way he came out with that statement. And I thought, well, they're there anyway. And what came of it? Nothing. I expect someone got paid a lot of money to do a study, and then that was the end of it. Then you hear things like, oh, the nighttime czar. What's the nighttime czar? That sounds like a gangster to me. He's walking down the road with a machete. And they're supposed to be keeping the venues open in London. Not working, is it? not working at all.
It's not, is it?
So
And I feel
yeah,
like, I mean, and there's people like myself, I'd go out more, but I've got, me and Laurie are juggling the kids and stuff, so I've
yeah.
got to be selective where I go. And it's a shame because I love seeing music, I love watching bands, I love talking to people. And well, the good thing about COVID for me is people used to set up cameras so you could see bands in your home. Maybe that's the way to go. So you could pay a fiver and watch. I don't know.
It's not the same. It's not the same because
I know it's not, but like for
we
people like me who maybe like Lorik's at a gig, I want to see a band, but I can't see them because I'm in the house. It's a nice way for me
absolutely
to see something, It's, uh,
yeah.
or,
I
yeah,
mean,
or disabilities, or people getting older.
the I've been through it, so I know exactly where you are. I mean, I'm in the lucky position now that well, my eldest granddaughter's 21, so it's a long time ago since I had that problem of juggling the kids to be able to get out. So I am able to get out, and I am very lucky that I've got a venue sort of like 10 miles away. I can get a bus at the top of the road, go down, and do my thing down there, doing the comparing. I don't know. Time just goes. I
It
mean,
does,
it's
doesn't it?
ridiculous. Yeah, and years ago, people used to say, "Oh, I'm retired now. I don't know where I found time to go to work. I've been retired 4 years. I just have no time. Absolutely no time. It's a PS5. That's what it is. I sit there on a PS5. When because I'll watch West Ham and I'll get really annoyed with them, and because we go to football. That's another thing you see. Football's changed over the
Oh,
years.
God, yeah.
I used to uh, Saturday morning, when I was a kid, I'd be waking up, I'd be all excited about the game and waiting to go, and there was nothing on the telly, not like it is now, and you go to the game and you watch it, and you come back and you see your mates and you talk about every kick, it was. Now I go, this is true, this is. Um, I go and my season ticket would be £1,000 a year, but I get a discount now because of my age. And I'm paying all that money, but we get on the train in the morning, we get up there. Look, you never know. It used to be 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. You never know what day it's going to be on, let alone what time they're going to put. And in fact, I couldn't go the other night because I couldn't get home. One of the games I love to see, West Ham and Man United, and I couldn't guarantee getting home. So it's all done for the money.
Yeah.
But anyway, I go now and we get in the pub, we have a good drink, get over there, drink at half time. I get home, my wife says, "Oh, I saw the score, you lost again, no? Who scored?" No idea. Who were we playing? And sometimes by Monday I can't even remember who we played. I said, "Who did we play on Saturday?" you know, and I've just lost all interest. But to me, it's a social occasion now. I just go up there and have a drink and shout and scream at the team, and that's it. Let out my anger, um, and yeah, it's like music now. I don't want to see all the refined stuff. I want to see the raw stuff. So once again, I'm rambling. I see you glazed over, a look in your eye.
I
You
was
should never get.
listening. I was thinking.
Your eyes where he's off again.
I was thinking as well about West Ham because yeah, it's not because West Ham's not too far. The stadium's not too far from us, but it's so expensive for like young kids to see a game now. Like,
Yeah.
no, don't judge me on this, but my son supports Man United. Because like my
Oh,
yeah, because obviously family are from Salford, my English family. That's a long story. Um, we came from Salford, and my dad supported Man United. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent now. So yeah, he supports Man United, and to get a ticket is it's hundreds of pounds. We can't afford that.
that's right. It is. absolutely ridiculous. And I know at West Ham they don't give discount for children. I mean, we get discount on the season tickets, but if a child you try to get a child's ticket for a one game, you can't do it. You can't do it. You've got to pay the full price. And for a family that they say, oh, we were a family club and all this. No, it's certainly got. I saw a picture the other day of boys queuing up in the entrance, because you had one at the entrance for the boys and it said boys at one time, and then they changed it to under 15s. Because then you used to leave school at 15, right? So it was under 15s you could get in at the cheaper price. And that was 2 and 6pence, which was 12.5 pence. Now, even with inflation, right, that 12.5 pence does not equate to what you would have to pay.
No.
If you'd have had my seat for a child on, when was it, Tuesday night, that would have cost £100. £100. Now that 12.5 pence, even with inflation, is nowhere near £100. So yeah, I will knock them, and I think it's gone completely the wrong way. And Mick Moriarty's always on at me, come with me to non-league football, see a proper game, So maybe that is the way to go. Maybe that is the way to go.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, yeah. I mean, we've been looking at like Leighton Orient. I've been meaning to get over there and seen a Harlow match. Cause going to those because they're
yeah,
affordable, and then the kids get to see the game, and it's because as you said, like, say if me, Lorik, and the kids were to go to, to see West Ham, it'd be like looking at God 400 or 500 quid, aren't you, for the whole
you will be.
family?
Then you've got, all your drinks and that inside.
Yeah.
It's well, to be honest, they set the drinks price at the beginning of the season, and I think they're a bit stuck because last year we were moaning last season that it was £7.40 for a pint, and I think it's about the same now. Well, of course that's becoming cheap. £7.40 for a pint up in London. I mean, I was paying £8 odd the other week.
Jesus.
So you just it's absolutely ridiculous. It's a situation where families are being priced out of it. So it is worrying, and this new generation just don't go out. They do not go out. They're different to our generation. They don't really drink. They certainly don't go out to gigs and things like that. Although my two of my eldest granddaughters, 21 and 18, they tend to go to the bigger gigs, like the ones in Clapham Common and that, and go and watch, because they're more into, I don't know if you call it dance, hip hop, or whatever they call it now, but they tend to go and see those ASAP Rocky and people like that. And I say, well, why not come along with me, and especially if you're not drinking, you can drive. Take me down.
Oh, the real reason comes forward.
They say they only want to go and see the big stuff, It's a shame, really, because that big stuff, well, it will be there, but it'll all be corporate driven. Well, it's all corporate driven now, isn't it? Like, and people say to me, oh, where did you see Smokey Robinson? I say, the Hammersmith Odeon. They said, well, where's that? Oh, I said, Hammersmith. I said, never heard of it. They said, all I know is the Eventim Apollo. And I said, well, that's the Hammersmith Odeon. So you've got two corporate sponsors there, in the one. It is frightening. Everything is just money, and it's kicked the soul out of a lot of it. So hopefully we'll get the grassroots. Grassroots has got to do it for themselves. and what they can do, I don't know, because I literally am thinking all the time, what can we do to get sort of like more people into the venue that I go, you know? And you're banging your head against the wall, because if you're getting a band that people have heard of, then and don't forget, there's only going to be 300 people. That's all you can get in there. So you're getting a band people have heard of. You've got to be charging sort of like £20-30 to come in, you know, to be able to pay them, and it just prices people out of the market. And many years ago, I would have bands, young bands, sort of like messaging me all the time, asking to come on my show. Now, a lot of people, they're a lot older, you know. No, I'm not being derogatory to the bands at all, because they're absolutely fantastic. I mean, I had El Tel on this week, and they'll be the first to admit they're not in the prime of youth, but they're fantastic at what they do and that. But I don't get a band who's, say, 17, 18 years old, who you would think would want to come on the radio to get that exposure. I just don't see them anymore. Maybe I don't go to the right places. I don't know.
Yeah.
Really don't know. But yeah, and I don't want to finish on a low note, because there are so many great bands around, you know. It's just unfortunate that they are older. I saw a few younger ones when I bumped into you down at Battlebridge down in Essex.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a few great younger bands on there, you know. I can't for the life of me remember the names of them now. There was one band from up your way somewhere, very, very, very funny with their act.
Was it Rat Hole?
Rat Hole, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, they were hilarious. We were watching them together, I remember, because...
Yeah, Rat Hole, yeah, very, very, very funny. But then... a mate of mine, Trevor, he said to me, I saw Rat Hole at Rebellion. He said, don't miss them. And then when they finished, he said that was word for word exactly what they did at Rebellion. So although it seems improvised, they've polished that act and know exactly what they're doing, you know. So yeah, they were a standout for me.
Yeah, very clever.
But you're never going to see them on the X Factor, I'll tell you that.
I'll do some quick fire questions with you, Keith, and then I'll sling me up
right.
and let you get on with your day.
Hopefully you're not going to ask my favourite teacher, because I can't remember going to school.
Same here. I won't go there, though. Quick fire questions. Okay, vinyl, CD, cassette or streaming? Which would you choose?
I'll be honest with you, I spend most of my time listening to on streaming, but vinyl is the preferred.
Cool.
So, see, you're never going to get a straight answer from me, officer.
Next, a band more people should know about.
Bands more... Oh, blimey, I should have done some research here, shouldn't I? So off the top of my head, Rage DC, without a doubt. Rage DC, the Witch Doctors. So El Tel, definitely. Courtney Barnett, I really enjoy. She's from Melbourne, but I think she's headlining Six Music's Sounds of the City, whatever it is that they're doing. So perhaps she's a lot bigger than when I first started listening to her. See, the thing with me is I get these come through, and then the record companies get hold of them and they say, don't waste your time sending them to him, send them to the bigger radio stations now, you know. And that's what happens all the time. And to be fair to Oasis, right from the start, there's another one, if no one's heard of them, Oasis. I've always had their stuff come through, including all their solo stuff, Liam Gallagher and Knowles, you know. So to be fair to them, they've always sent it through, and I still get Paul Weller's. But apart from that, they're mainly bands, and the problem is that I have so many to listen to. I'll probably only listen to them once, you know, and then move on. But Kurt Kurt Vile, Kurtvile, absolutely brilliant. He is well worth a listen. So yeah, there's people who I think should definitely, and then as soon as this goes down, I thought, oh, why didn't I mention so and so? And I should have thought of this. I've got my favourite colour written down, what I would name a hedgehog if I ever adopted one, and all this. Think about bands. So yeah, they're bands. Local pop hero, Red Anger. Red Anger,
yeah.
definitely. Yeah, of course, Red Anger. How can I go without saying Red Anger? Red Anger, I think, are one of the most underrated bands that I know.
Yeah.
They're absolutely fantastic.
Got Fleagle's in Red Anger.
He is, yes. He and Fleagle's the one. Right, I'll tell you a story about Fleagle. Right, and if you're listening to Fleagle, I know what you're doing. Right, he stands behind me, and he starts saying the wrong name of the band that I'm just about to introduce, right? He'll say something close to it, and he's put it in my mind, right? So whenever I'm at a gig on Fleagle's there, you can always guarantee that just before they come on, he'll be standing behind me saying the wrong name of the band. Right, so as when I get up there, I'll introduce them wrong because, of course, he's getting me back for the Stone Heroes, which he was a member of. But yeah, so there's Fleagle, and I do have a lot. I've called them Re-Danger, Red Anger, but those were deliberate. Yeah, but most of the time I get it wrong. It is not an act, and I did introduce a band. And as I was walking off stage, they said, we're actually, to the audience, we're actually so-and-so, and corrected me. So, yeah, it must get confusing for people. Anyway, what's the next question?
Studio chaos or organised setup?
Right. When I'm on the radio?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to think that it's organised because I do prepare the show. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I've always got a raft of records that was on the playlist or songs that were on the playlist because I have to do it through my laptop because everything I get nowadays is on MP3. So I do it all through the laptop. So the songs are playing now. As soon as that microphone goes up, what I'm going to say is not. And I've got songs in there that will last me the amount of the show with a little bit of filling. And I've always got 4 or 5 songs left because I've rambled on. I've just gone off on a tangent. And so I like to think that it's organised, but yeah, I would say it is organised. As much as it sounds a shambles, that's down to my organisation. But yeah, organised in the studio. Was that the final?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Any final words, Keith? Of the
yes, get out and support your local venues. Absolutely essential that you do get out, support the bands, support the venues. If you do have a little bit of extra money, buy some merchandise because it all goes towards the band's petrol money. They're not making a fortune out of it, but it does help. They have to do jobs where they leave early and one thing and another to get to do these gigs, and they'll travel all over the country and most of the time at their own expense. They won't get paid much by the venue, which is not having a go at the venue. It's just what the venue can afford. So yeah, buy a bit of merchandise as well.
Cool. No, I totally agree with you there. It is. Bands put so much into what they do, and you get very little back. So it's well, financially, you know what I mean, don't you, Keith?
It's not all about the money. It's about
yeah. That's what I meant to say as well. It's not all about the money. You do it because you love it, but
exactly.
Yeah.
Without sounding too zen. It's just the spirituality of it, you know.
Yeah.
It's the feeling you get. It's the feeling inside, and I get people come up to me, even though I am such a tiny bit part at a gig, and people come up to me and start talking to me, and I feel so good that, you know, I've helped make their evening and helped to, you know, perhaps do my little part. But I honestly feel, I'm not just saying it, insignificant, and I am. Without me, that gig would still go ahead. Without the bands, I'd have nothing to do.
Yeah.
So that is how I feel. You know, I don't get paid. I don't want to get paid. We were looking at sort of like going away, you know, and in the motorhome when the weather gets a bit better. When I looked at my diary, I just realised I've booked every weekend in April where people have asked me, you know, to do comparing. So yeah, it's nice that people do ask me to do it, especially as I'm useless at it, getting the band's names wrong.
It's the sort of thing I would do. This is why I don't compare.
But yeah,
but you can get away with it. I couldn't. I'd just be like, okay.
Yeah, I when I first started doing it, I was totally nervous of getting things wrong. But now it is who I am. So, and I don't worry about it at all. I don't worry about making mistakes on the radio. You know, and when I'm comparing and I make a mistake, I'll often say something like, for an extra £5, they could have had Tony Blackburn, you know. So I don't worry about making mistakes now. I think, you know, whereas I've gone through my whole life about, you know, wouldn't put your hand up in a meeting, you know, or on a course in case you asked a stupid question.
Okay, thank you again. I'm gonna click off now, but hopefully I'll see you out and about at some point. Fingers crossed I get out.
Yeah. Catch up with you soon.
Bye, Keith.
See you later, Marie. Thanks a lot. Bye now. Bye.
That was Keith Woodhouse. Thank you for being on the show, Keith, and thank you for listening to Punk Rock Creators podcast. We'll see you again soon. Okay, thank you. Bye.